All right, so we're sitting here with Dan Lilker in this awesome van of Brutal Truth and Anthrax and, Jesus, how many other bands?
Wow, you went right to the beginning there, didn't you? Oh, I don't know, Nuclear Assault, SOD, Hemlock, Exit 13, Crucifist. The guitar player of Crucifist is sitting there on the front. It's his
I own the van.
And there's Rich from Brutal Truth.
So, you guys started a very long time ago in Brutal Truth, correct?
1990, actually, was the original formation.
1952.
Yeah.
And you went for how many years before there was a lull of 10?
We broke up in 98, then there was an 8-year lull until 2006. 3 years ago.
Why did you guys break up? Was it just...
There was some issues going on between people in the band that just got too intense and made it impossible to do anything, but that ain't gonna happen now. And coincidentally, we have a different guitar player because our original guitar player couldn't do it, so.
So this isn't just a one-off album then, right? This is actually the band you're going forward, and there's gonna be more albums and more tours and...
Well,
You mean like if the planet isn't destroyed tomorrow?
Right.
If civilization doesn't, isn't destroyed next week when Pakistan falls to the Taliban and their 100-odd nuclear weapons are cast across Western Europe by North Korean-made missile technology?
True.
Right.
So if that doesn't happen, then this is...
well, that's why we
We've
take
got
things
big
at a...
plans, assuming everything else works out for the rest of the fucking planet.
We do things on a day-to-day basis due to the imminent threat of apocalypse.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
Our next album is called The Psychological Effects of the Stress of Impending Disaster.
No, that's a book he's got. And he showed me, he goes, look, I've got a book called The Psychological Effects of Impending Disaster.
Nice.
So maybe that will end up...
When they make a movie out of Brutal Truth like they did with Anvil, that's what it's going to be.
Well, you then go on tour with Judas Priest.
I hope so, man.
So you pretty much, you got back together after the whole I Hate God tribute. Was that the kind of what brought it together?
Yeah, that's what put us in the same room.
Cool.
And once we did that, see, the thing is, when we did that 3 years ago, first we rehearsed it here in Rochester, and our original guitar player, Gurn, lives in Northeast Connecticut, and Rich is from Philly, so...
Yo, what's up, Philly in the house, yo?
So since we have a good rehearsal scenario here, everybody met up here, and it was January 2006, so, it was complete crazy black metal weather, but both of these guys drove from 7 hours in different directions to convene here to learn a song that had 4 chords in it. So once we learned the song, we were like, well, what are we going to do now? So we smoked some weed and said, let's see if we can play our old stuff. Why not? We'd already learned Sister Fucker by I Hate God. That's really not
Part
rocket
1
science.
and Part 2.
Yeah, Part 1 and Part 2. Neither of which was that fucking, challenging, we'll say. So then we said, yeah, well, let's play some of our own stuff just to see if we could. And we could, so we did. And then just one thing led to another, like this. These guys came up twice. In January 2006 to learn the song, and then 2 months later to record it. So I forgot which one of those sessions it was.
The initial one was just to see if we could still play. The initial one was with the idea of, we'll do this cover tune, but it was also like, what'll happen if we start doing this, And then once we had the first one, we were like, oh, we can do this again. And then we rescheduled the next one to actually make the recording.
Now, was everybody else in bands still, other than Dan's 20 projects that he has going?
Pretty much.
Yeah, Total Fucking Destruction is one of the most important bands on the planet. I'm surprised you guys haven't heard of it.
What's it called?
Total Fucking Destruction?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that. All right. Didn't they go on tour with Britney Spears or...
Judas Priest?
Judas Priest, one of those big concert tours.
Yeah, I'm still doing Crucifist. And, Rich got TFD.
TFD, I've been inspired of a lot to move into like the poetry sort of spoken word scene lately.
Stick to the subject.
I mean, music is a great way for me to express my feelings, but sometimes it feels so limiting.
I'm a tree.
What about Kevin? Was Kevin still in the in the industry, so to speak, or?
Yeah, he did some stuff with Damage from Australia, and then he formed Venomous Concept with the Napalm guys, and then those guys asked
Right.
me to be in the band, so I'm doing that now too. And whatchamacallit, Eric, obviously, he's our new guy, but he is in fucking Sulaco doing that.
Calibus.
And of course, he's known from Lethargy. Calibus isn't together no more.
He was touring with Nuclear
I
Assault
thought
with you,
Calibus
right?
reformed.
Briefly. Yeah, Eric did some shows with Nuclear too.
Got the Eric Berg project.
I knew that, whatchamacallit. Oh yeah, I forgot BCT.
Yeah, BCT.
I
How
knew
did you
when it
forget
came-
BCT?
When it came, I don't know. It's after all, it's as important as total fucking destruction.
Dude, we're talking about bands that, are at the preeminent pinnacle of rock, pop, soul, funk, disco, and grind. BCT, TFD, Crucifist.
Yeah, wherever that pinnacle is.
How do you balance having so many bands and functioning in all of them?
You plan well in advance. Right, John? You get an email? Can we play on July 26th? I'm like, as of now, I think so. If it changes, I'll let you know.
So Nuclear Assault is still together also?
Well, Nuclear Assault ain't gonna be doing really that
Glenn fucked up
much.
his arm.
No, his arm's better, but John's a school teacher now. John's a fucking full-time school teacher, which means the only time he can really do shit is in the summer. And right now, for me, brutal truth's the absolute priority, man. It's gonna have to work around that. And Eric, also playing in Nuclear, I mean, we discussed that. Ironically enough, there's a festival called Brutal Assault in the Czech Republic. Brutal Truth is booked on it, and we're seeing if we could have Nuclear Assault on it, just for the irony.
Yeah, that's great.
You could play at the same time. You could kind of coordinate all the songs together.
That's terrifying fucking thought.
Another walking corpse.
Only Hang the Pope would sound normal.
Yeah, you could do Hang the Pope and Lesbians. Those would be pretty short songs to throw in there.
How do crowds differ from the U.S. to other countries?
They're
They
not
turn up,
American.
man. I mean, they're crazy Italian people.
Wonder if that's sarcastic with the guy doing that. Yeah, it's the Italians are great because our music is perfect for them because it just makes their heads explode. They fucking freak out, Just like the Japanese, it's like almost the same thing. They have a very, accelerated lifestyle. I think it's all the coffee with both those motherfuckers. But the Norwegians might stand there with their arms folded, but then they'll come up later and say, that was a great show.
There was that guy in Offenburg that took off his pants.
Is there a story attached to that?
It's a sordid story. We played in Offenburg, Germany, which is not too far from Switzerland and directly across from Strasbourg, France.
Germany, just over the river from France.
Yeah, it's like, it would be like 10 miles from here, you'd be in France.
Right.
So these crazy French guys come to the German shows, and they're a lot more uninhibited. The Germans are a bit kind of like, a bit kind of like more serious, not kind of like the Scandinavians, but they get silly when they drink their beer. But the French, they show up all fucked up on red wine, and they brought 3 gallons with them.
Yeah.
And
3 gallons and no corkscrew.
we're playing, and we see a guy standing in the middle of the crowd. He's got his arms raised, he's like, hey, look at me. And we look close, and the only thing he's got on is like fucking shoes.
I remember there were tan ankle-high boots because as soon as I saw he was naked, I just started looking at his shoes.
You're like, wow, are those loafers? And to make it worse, he got on stage and stage dived, so his fucking sweaty balls and ass went right. Some guys,
balls swinging around.
he's a brave man though.
You didn't bump into him or anything.
No, but
We were hanging out with him in the parking lot afterwards. He had his pants down around his ankles and 2 bottles of wine, one under each hand.
There was no crowd surfing, was there?
Yeah.
Oh,
He was doing it. And this was a very small place. We played in the basement of a church, like a youth center. So it was
it
like...
was definitely what you would call elevated testicles.
I mean, there were
That could be a name of a
80
band.
or 100 people there, and like you couldn't move. It was packed.
Yeah, so you might have ended up with fucking getting teabagged by a stage.
There's going to be a Brutal Truth DVD.
Yep, there's going to be a Brutal Truth DVD that the main footage is from our appearance at the Obscene Extreme Festival in the Czech Republic in 2007. And then there is bonus stuff.
There were no
which is-
naked guys at that, but there was one guy dressed as a cardboard box
Let's
on
get off the
stage for a
naked
while.
guy. That topic is over. There's bonus stuff. It's all from the older days. From 97, 98, a couple of shows from Australia, a show from Berkeley, California, and a show from Houston featuring this crazy Mexican chick who jumped on stage and started molesting Kevin.
Was she also naked?
I didn't know about that.
Nah, she wasn't naked, but the way her boobs were hanging out,
Were
Might
Kevin's
as well.
boobs hanging out?
no, it was early.
So how did the
in
Crucifist band come about? Was that something you started, or did somebody
No,
else start
I was
it
the
and
last
asked
person
you?
to join. Well, just these guys.
wrought the wrath of Crucifist upon the earth.
I knew the guys just from hanging out, seeing them at metal shows, and then they came up to me at a Guar show at Water Street, and just kind of like wondering if I would do it, like, you know, just throwing hints, just like, hey, you know, we're doing a band that's going to be doing like old school, like 80s black death metal stuff with some doom thrown in. And I was like, that sounds like fun. You got a bass player? And they were like, well, as a matter of fact, no, we don't. And I said, all right, well, can I throw all my Celtic frost riffs in there? And they said, yep. And I said, okay, man, I'm down. And
And Crucifist was born.
yeah. And we don't move too fast as far as we still don't have a full length out, but we do a whole bunch of shows around here. We've played Toronto a few times. So yeah, that's the story of Crucifist. We're gonna have an album out soon on Shane Embry's label, Feto Records, F-E-T-O.
So what about your days in SOD? Do you have any comments on those?
I was in a daze most of that time, yes. No, what, back in the old days when we first did it? Yeah, that was fun. We had no idea it was going to be that huge, you know. We just fucking wrote some stupid shit and recorded an album in 3 days and a $5,000 budget. Next thing you know, I think we could tell when we were mixing it. We're like, damn, this does sound pretty good. I think people are going to like this. But,
You know, you're millionaires.
yeah, right.
It wasn't- it
Because
wasn't
nobody
on
was
my-
doing what we were doing at the time. Plus, I had Scott's Toad with my fucking radical bass Toad. Probably made it, you know, sounds a little more intense than other shit that was around. But it was pretty good for a goof. You know, we didn't mean those lyrics. We were just trying to piss off the hardcore scene. We saw a lot of people in that scene who were like, what we seemed as like, what to us seemed like, you know, just a little too uptight. So we're like, let's just have a little fun. I regretted it later to a point. You know, it could have been a little less heavy-handed than calling your album Speak English or Die, but we were out to fucking be provocative, and it fucking worked, I'll tell you that. Most people knew that we were just dicking around, and the people that didn't almost deserved to not get it, so.
You regretted Milk later?
That was one of the deeper songs. Deeply philosophical.
Is that about Harvey Milk?
No, that's a true story, Milk. We were hungover and fucking didn't have any milk
you?
and said, well,
That's
now we
me.
got something to write a fucking song about.
How'd the second album come about?
Oh, well, right around the time that Brutal Truth bit the dust in 98, coincidentally enough, timing-wise, SOD had done a show in 97 in Germany, so that kind of got everyone kind of warmed up to it. And then, yeah, I guess when Anthrax had downtime or something, that's how it usually works.
So,
So we did another record and did a bunch of shows in places we'd never played before, which was a lot of fun, and then it kind of just stopped again.
So has the response been good that Brutal Truth is back and there's a new album and everything?
Totally, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason there is a new album, the whole response thing. I mean, we didn't have MySpace back in the old
Kids
days.
are into it. Old heads are into it.
Trading.
You know?
Yeah.
People are into the new
Now they
stuff,
just
people are into the old stuff.
download MP3s and all their shit's in a fucking folder on their desktop. Can't fucking roll a joint on a folder, man. But, anyway, yeah, the whole thing when we came back, it's just there was this whole steamroll effect, you know. When did that MySpace thing? When did we?
I started the MySpace when I was still working at Relapse, doing the booking agency. So I started the MySpace. It was shortly after I heard of MySpace, you know. So
Brutal Truth had a MySpace before we reformed.
yeah. I just started up before the band, and even then, I didn't have Brutal Truth. It's Brutal fucking Truth for our MySpace, because there's like some dude that has Brutal Truth and wouldn't give it up, and he wasn't even into music or
Sue him.
Brutal Truth us. But you can, you know. It's just he got the name first. But yeah.
how do you guys feel about the internet as far as music goes?
Well, it's a really good way to promote your shit. and a really good way to advertise stuff. I mean, there's the downside, like torrent sites and people downloading your record instead of buying it, but we like to think that
Fuck it. Our record's streaming online for free, the new record. You can go listen to it all you want, But to download it, you have to go to torrent, Which, fuck it, man.
Yeah, it's a kind of ethical thing for me because I download other band shit, so
Right, I don't give
it
a
would be
fuck.
fucking real weird for me to go, that's totally fucked up, but I just hope that people who would download it would go, fuck, that's great, man, I'm gonna buy it.
I think it's a wise fucking business move. Even if people don't go out and buy it, they fucking come out to the show because they heard it and it was great, and they spend their money on a T-shirt, which a band gets more from a T-shirt than they do a CD anytime. It's more just like I don't really care. It's like we put out the CD, and if a label wants to put out the CD, they can put that out. But that really doesn't. It helps and all, but there's a bigger picture as opposed to like these CDs and whether we can sell 1,000 of them, or if we stop people from downloading it, we can sell 1,250 of them, Because that doesn't really make a difference for me, because like the royalty checks I'm making aren't really that big, So the only thing having a CD out there, whether it's downloaded for free or the label sells it, that I get out of that is being able to play shows with Brutal Truth, in which case I get to travel, I get to party, I get to sell T-shirts, So, if they give away 1 million free MP3s, totally cool, man, because I wouldn't sell that many CDs anyway, and that 1 million people
Have now heard
will be
you.
coming out,
Yeah. So there you go. There's a good side to it too.
I mean, labels and bands have always had sort of an adversarial relationship historically,
Yeah, isn't that strange?
No, it's not strange because it's like master slave or two sides of a coin sort of thing, and it is what it is. But if those labels fall away, and it becomes and the whole process of getting music from the musician's head into the listener's ears becomes completely transparent, where I can just record the song, put it up online, and anybody who wants it can find out about it right away. That's the model it's moving towards, which would be killer, So, I mean, a record label will become the kind of thing that takes your music and puts it online for you and gets it around and gets it out to people, It won't be a record label that delivers a physical record to you. It'll be a label that does something for you, More service than product. Whatever, man.
But even that, most bands could do for themselves.
Sure. And whether the band does it for themselves or somebody else, that doesn't change the fact that we're going to be, hanging out, smoking weed and playing grind,